You know the saying, right? I know you know the saying because the NFL pounds it down your throat all throughout the NFL season. Football is family. Football is family, unless you're on the Dallas Cowboys. Then football is only family if you're really good.
Welcome to the Reindl Report.
Hey, here's a hot take for you. Steph Curry, most over basketball player I've ever seen.
A podcast out of San Diego, California that rewrites the definition of mediocrity.
Yeah, and I don't trust anyone that calls a hot dog a sandwich. Are you crazy?
Are you stupid or something?
And I'll tell you another thing. You know what? I think pineapples do belong on pizza.
Honestly, as stupid as stupid does.
I think watching pitchers try to hit in baseball is one of the worst things in all of sports.
Oh my God, Paul could just, you make me so mad sometimes.
And I don't want to hear any of this 6-0 in the finals. LeBron James will retire as the GOAT.
Shut the up! Now, here's your host, Paul Reindl.
All right. Welcome to it. Episode 48 of the Reindl Report. My name is Paul Reindl. This is the Reindl Report. It is a San Diego sports podcast, primarily focused around San Diego sports, but we like to go all over the place. Really, whatever the main headlines are, whatever's going on out there, that's what we're going to talk about. No guests today. Usually try to get at least one guest on each episode, but flying solo here on episode 48, and you know what? That's okay. I got a lot to talk about. Got 4 or 5 different subjects that I really want to dive into and really hit on, and then that'll be it. Probably be a little bit shorter podcast than I've been getting to in the past few episodes. Been going right around an hour. This one should not go that long, so probably just gave you a big sigh of relief right there, huh? Anyways, want to get right into it. This podcast is being recorded on July 25th. So training camp, it's either here or it's right around the corner for some teams. So I want to start in the NFL. Got a lot to talk about there. Padres, they're making moves. I've got some thoughts on their latest trade. Kyrie Irving, what the hell are you doing? Definitely going to hit on that in the NBA. And then I want to wrap it up with something that started, O.J. Simpson was in the news last week. He's going to be out on parole. I'll get some more of that at the end of the podcast, but just watching everything go down last week, it kind of got me thinking, and I want to talk to you about what I was thinking about and see if maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm crazy. I don't know, but are there any other athletes did O.J. had it all? OJ had it all. And I was just trying to think of any other situation in sports where somebody was at the peak of their career, the top of the world, and absolutely lost it all. So we'll get to that. But first, I want to start in the NFL. And I want to start with a game. And for lack of a better term, I'm going to call it the comparison game. I'm going to tell you some numbers between two NFL quarterbacks, 2 players, and, well, we'll see where it goes. So, player A, we'll call him player A. He is 6'4", 220 pounds. Player B is 6'2", 220 pounds. Not a huge difference, a couple inches for player A. For their careers, player A has thrown for 12,200 yards. Player B has thrown for 8,900 yards. Player A has thrown 72 touchdowns opposed to 30 interceptions in their career. Player B has thrown for 42 touchdowns in their career as opposed to 26 interceptions. Again, player A, 72 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Player B, 42 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. Now, that was for their careers. Let's just look at the last couple of seasons, last 2 seasons, to be fair to both player A and player B. For player A, his last 2 seasons, he has played in 21 games. He's thrown for about roughly 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Player B, in the last 2 years, has played in 14 games, and he's thrown for roughly 2,600 yards, 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That would be more interceptions than touchdowns. So once again, over the span of the last 2 seasons, player A, 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Player B, 2,600 yards, 6 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. What am I getting at here? You might have already figured it out, especially being that this is a San Diego-based sports podcast. Player A was Colin Kaepernick, who does not have a job. Player B was Robert Griffin III, who also does not have a job, but he did get a workout. And he was offered a workout by none other than your Los Angeles Chargers. I just pissed off half the people at least listening right now. They're going to say your Sandy. See, I did it. There's the first slip for the NFL season. Your Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers bringing in RG3 for a workout, and it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why. The guy has had one good year in his entire career, and that was his rookie season. Threw for 20 touchdowns, I think like 5 interceptions. I got the stats right here. Had a really good season, 3,200 yards. I believe he was like Rookie of the Year. There's so many different awards at the end of the year. He was like the Pepsi Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, or something like that. But I mean, ever since then, he has gone dramatically downhill, and he's been hurt, and he was shown the door by the Redskins after Kirk Cousins came in there and cleaned things up, and he played in 5 games last year for the Cleveland Browns. 5 games. 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, Robert Griffin III is getting a workout, whereas Colin Kaepernick and everybody, I'm trying not to beat a dead horse here, okay? By now you probably have figured out or heard my thoughts on Colin Kaepernick, and I think it's asinine that he does not have a job in the NFL. I think it is an absolute joke that he's not somewhere being a backup quarterback. You cannot tell me that there are 32 other backup quarterbacks that are better than Colin Kaepernick. Somebody who has been to a Super Bowl. Somebody who has won Richard Sherman tipped pass away from going back to a second consecutive Super Bowl. Somebody who was a couple of Jim Harbaugh weird goal line calls from winning a Super Bowl. And everyone says, well, you know what? Colin Kaepernick, he didn't have a good year last year, okay? He's not that good. Well, he threw for 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions last year in 12 games. Is that great? No. But it's a hell of a lot better than RG3, first of all. And just looking at the list of some of the guys that did get quarterbacks, I bet those numbers are actually probably better than most of them. Talking to you, Josh McCown, Landry Jones, Mark Sanchez, Aaron Murray. Who? Matt McGloin has a job. Chase Daniel has a job. Mike Glennon was given $45 million by the Chicago Bears, who ended up getting Mitch Trubisky, their top draft pick, a quarterback. So not a lot of faith there in old Mike Glennon. I'm willing to bet that Colin Kaepernick's 2,200 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions in the last year, probably better than most of those guys that are employed. Those are numbers that should get you to having a job in the NFL. But we say, oh, he's got the baggage. He's got too much baggage. We don't want any of that. No, you do. You don't care about the baggage as long as the player is productive. I'm sick of hearing this argument against Colin Kaepernick. I do believe he's being blackballed by the NFL owners. They don't have a problem bringing in a guy that's got criminal allegations against him. Allegations, whether true or not, of people beating up women, stealing things, gun charges, you name it. The owners don't have a problem there. But when Colin Kaepernick had the audacity to exercise his First Amendment right as an American and quietly take a knee off to the side of the field during the national anthem to protest, I mean, is there really a debate to protest police brutality against African Americans in this country? Is there really a debate on whether or not that's a thing? If there is, well, then if you don't believe that is true that there are exponentially higher rates of African Americans being beaten up by cops, being abused by police officers across the country, I guess I don't know what to tell you, because that it's true. That's a thing. It's happening. And Colin Kaepernick, he didn't do it in the middle of the game. He didn't go out into the middle of the 50-yard line and take a knee. He didn't make it all about him. He did it off to the side. Some players might have been with him. I'm not stupid. I understand it became the Colin Kaepernick show. Remember playing a preseason game against the Chargers here in San Diego, America's finest city. ESPN was all over it. That was the game. The national anthem was the game. I think it was like the third preseason game maybe. And that was all anyone cared about, was Colin Kaepernick going to take a knee. So I'm just sick. When I see Robert Griffin III is getting a workout for the Los Angeles Chargers, and from reports it went well, but no move has been made. Maybe by the time you're hearing this, maybe he does have a job now. But just when I saw that, it really pissed me off. It really got to me. I mean, Robert Griffin III is not a good quarterback. He had one pretty good year, got hurt, has never been the same, never will be the same, never going to be a starter in the NFL again, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe if somebody gets hurt, maybe. But the fact that he even got a look, and the fact that guys like Josh McCown, Mark Sanchez, Aaron Murray they have jobs. I mean, and Colin Kaepernick's just sitting there like, hey, what's up, guys? Remember me? It doesn't make sense to me. If I'm crazy, go ahead and tell me. I'm all ears. I'm open to having that conversation. I just don't see when you say, well, he's not that good on the field. 16 touchdowns to 4 interceptions last year. I mean, that's not terrible. I don't know if that would qualify as his production has gone significantly downhill and he's not a good quarterback. If that's your argument, you're just using that to mask the fact that you don't want him on your team because of his political beliefs. I can't draw any other conclusion than that. So those are my thoughts on RG3 and him getting a workout for the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego, who reside in Orange County or something like that. I just wanted to play the comparison game. And again, I don't know how you can look at player A versus player B there and tell me player A is not the much better choice for bringing somebody in for a tryout. But I want to keep it here in the NFL before we move on. You know the saying, right? I know you know the saying because the NFL pounds it down your throat all throughout the NFL season. Football is family. Football is family. Unless you're on the Dallas Cowboys. Then football is only family if you're really good. Now, if you're a third-year wide receiver, you're out on your ass. We're not going to defend you. You're not family. You might be the evil like stepchild. You're the you're the third cousin that nobody wanted to be hanging out with. Nobody wanted to be seen with you. Now, if you're good, we'll back you up. Football's family if you're good. Freaking Cowboys, man. The Dallas Cowboys, they can't get it right. They just can't get it right. This is a team for years and years now. They have not shied away from controversial players. Jerry Jones has never had a problem with giving guys a second chance. I'm talking about guys like Pac-Man Jones, Dez Bryant, Michael Irvin, Greg Hardy, Terrell Owens. Now, just in the last couple of months or a couple of weeks even, Ezekiel Elliott. But I'm talking about Lucky Whitehead, third-year wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Well, formerly for the Dallas Cowboys. And I know what you're thinking, and I'll get into the story if you haven't heard about it. Maybe it was not on your radar, but I know what you're thinking. Guys like Dez Bryant, Michael Irvin, Ezekiel Elliott, Terrell Owens, like those are Pro Bowlers. Those are great players. True. Those are great players that did a lot of bad things in their lives. A lot of bad things during their career. Ezekiel Elliott, he's got allegations of assaulting women. Dez Bryant was an absolute mess coming into the league. He had to have special rules for him, like guys that would, babysit him essentially, especially on road trips. Michael Irvin, if you don't know any of his history, it's a quick Google search. Highly recommend it. Greg Hardy, for the love of God, was given a second opportunity in the NFL by none other than Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. What Greg Hardy did is despicable. I remember reading a story about what was going on when it first started coming out. It made me physically uncomfortable. Beating a woman in a hotel bathroom, I think it was a hotel, throwing her across a room onto a bed that was full of loaded, assault rifles and machine guns and shotguns. Like, what the hell? He got a second chance with the NFL. Cowboys brought him in for an opportunity. So Lucky Whitehead, he's a third-year wide receiver, and he was charged with shoplifting in Virginia. That's his home state. He missed his court appearance, and subsequently a warrant went out for his arrest. But there's a problem. Not only did he not do that, it wasn't even him. Like, he was not the person. So he didn't go to his court appearance because he didn't know he had a court appearance, because he didn't do anything, because it wasn't him. There was some other guy who committed this crime, larceny, in Virginia, and details, as far as I've been able to see, have not come out on how he got this information, but he didn't have a photo ID on him. But the guy gave the cops, Lucky Whitehead, his full name, his date of birth, and his social security number. So he played it off like that's who he was. Court appearance, warrant for the arrest, all that falls on Lucky Whitehead. Now the Cowboys, earlier this week, when they catch wind of that, they immediately cut him. They cut his ass. Said, we can't be a part of this. You're gone, man. They did not have his back. They did not ask him, did you do this? Where were you on the night of whatever in Virginia? His agent was able to clear his name pretty quickly with the police by saying, look, here's his flight information. Here's his hotel receipts. Like, the dude was not there. He could not have done it. It was not him. And the police said, oh, shoot, you're right. My bad. Sorry, man. You're clear. Cowboys didn't do that. Jerry Jones didn't do that. They did not have his back. They will defend guys that are good, and they will dump you if you're not a star. Not just the Cowboys. They're probably the leading example. But the NFL in general, if you're a star, we'll give you a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. How many quarterbacks do I need to name? I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, you know what he did. Michael Vick, you damn sure know what he did. He got a second chance. Cowboys giving Greg Hardy another chance. All the other players that I listed off, they were good at football, so football was family for them. Unfortunately, Lucky Whitehead was not a close enough relative for the Cowboys to even entertain the idea that maybe he didn't do this. Maybe we should at least talk to him about it. No, we're just going to cut him. I have a problem with that. I think that's wrong. I think it's hypocritical. The Cowboys trying to make an example. They've had all these opportunities. Like, they're not going to cut Ezekiel Elliott. They weren't going to cut Des Bryant. They weren't going to tell Michael Irvin to kick rocks because of all the crap that he was doing in his off time. So they thought, you know what? We got all this stuff going on. We got to make an example out of somebody. Problem is, you made an example out of a kid that didn't do what he was accused of doing. Cowboys, man, they just can't get it right. But hey, you know the saying. Say it together now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Football is family. All right, we're coming up on 20 minutes here, so I'm going to start to wrap things up. Padres, they were in the news this week. They made a trade. Trevor Cahill, Brandon Maurer, Ryan Buchter, they're off to Kansas City. And in exchange, the Padres received a couple of left-handed pitchers and an infielder. Let's see, we got 2 pitchers, Matt Strahm and Travis Wood. And I can't even really say his name. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the infielder's name is Esteury Ruiz. Esteury Ruiz. We'll go with Ruiz. How about that? We'll go with Ruiz. Look, this was interesting for me. When I saw this news come down, I kind of laughed. I thought, yeah, it's classic Padres. There you go. I'm not saying Trevor Cahill, Brandon Maurer, Ryan Buchter are great by any means. I'm saying they're not terrible. Brandon Maurer's not a great closer. I'll give you that. Trevor Cahill, he's gonna get some quality innings for some contender. Well, I mean, we know now he's going to Kansas City. I bet he gives you quality innings in Kansas City. Ryan Buchter, I mean, he's not like an all-star, but he's been solid the last couple of seasons. He's been a solid relief pitcher. But the problem that I had when I saw this trade was that everything I know about baseball, all the baseball rules that I have followed in my 26 years on this earth, is that this was wrong. Like, what the hell are you doing, guys? You just traded 3 major league arms for a couple of prospects. I mean, Travis Wood's a 30-year-old that has his ERA this year is 6.91, okay? And the Royals are eating most of that this year and next year. They're like, hey, just take him. We don't want him. Have him. We'll pay for it. Just take him. And I don't know enough about Matt Strahm. I know he's injured, but I know A.J. Preller was big on him. I heard A.J. Preller this week saying he might be ready to go next season. At the beginning of the season, I should say. He might be ready if all the rehab and everything goes 100% according to plan. Not a whole lot of confidence there on my end, at least. And from everything I've seen, this Ruiz kid in the infield seems solid. Just add him to the list. Another infielder that the Padres are putting their eggs in their basket. How many infielders do the Padres have in their minor league system? It's insane, especially middle infielders. But 3 major league arms. I mean, that's the whole point of all these prospects. We keep talking about all these prospects and draft picks. You grade a draft based on how many guys get to the show, how many guys make it to the big league level. You know, I mean, if you draft 20, 30 guys, for example, if 2 of them make it up to the show in a few years, like, you're calling that a successful draft. Because there's just so many players and so many guys don't pan out that if you can just get a couple of them to make it all the way to the major league level, it was a successful draft class. So you just traded 3 major league arms, guys that have played at this level, guys that have somewhat proven themselves at this level for what I'm calling them 3 question marks. And I didn't quite understand that. I should say everything that I know about baseball, everything that all my philosophies led me to go, what the hell are they doing? But there's a but. This is going to lead to some more losses. I don't know how you could not draw that conclusion. You just gave up your closer, a reliever, and one of your starting pitchers. Major leaguers for 3 guys that will not be in the major leagues this year. Maybe Travis Wood will get a couple of innings, but you did not. It was just not a fair, balanced trade in the sense that 3 major league arms for a couple of major league players coming in as well. You're going to be replacing them with AAA, AA guys throughout the rest of the season. And that is probably going to lead to some more losses, which is a good thing, right? For this particular Padres season, it's all part of the process. So it took me a little while to get to that point when I first saw the trade. I'm like, what are they doing? Wait a second. This is going to lead to some more losses. That's actually a good thing because the Padres haven't been completely terrible this year. And, if you're not competing, you're rebuilding. And if you're rebuilding, you want a higher draft pick than not. So I just don't see any point in the Padres winning like 78 games or something like that and being in the middle of the first round next year in the draft order. Like, if you're not even going to be anywhere near contention for the playoffs, why not get a high draft pick? Hopefully this will help out. Moving on, I want to hit on the NBA, and then we'll start to wrap things up here. Kyrie Irving, he wants out, and man, you've heard it 100 times now. The NBA offseason does not disappoint. This NBA offseason in particular has just been gold, just absolute gold. And it seemed like things were kind of slowing down. So what did we get a few days ago? Kyrie Irving He wants out. And my only question is, I got a few questions, actually. Kyrie Irving, what the hell, man? Like, what the hell? Are you sick of winning 60-plus games every year? Are you tired of having the easiest route possible to the NBA Finals? Do you hate playing with the best player on the planet? What's going on, Kyrie? I'm sure Kyrie's listening. Kyrie, call me, man. Call me up. You can be on the Rondo Report. Let's talk this out, dude. What's going on? You know, the narrative already starting to make its way around was that he didn't like being the second fiddle. And I say, stop. Stop. Kyrie Irving's the best point guard in the game. Kyrie Irving put up more shots than LeBron James last year. He put up 76 more field goal attempts in 2 less games than LeBron James last year. Yeah, of course LeBron is going to be the alpha male. He's bigger than you. He's stronger than you. He's a better player than you, Kyrie. Sorry. But that is not a slap in Kyrie Irving's face. Just because one guy is the alpha doesn't mean that he has to completely follow and, answer orders and all of that. Like, that was every bit as much of his team as it was LeBron's. But he wants out. And I just don't understand that. Why now? Why do you want out, Kyrie? What better is out there for you? You gonna get traded? What, are they gonna trade you for, like, Carmelo Anthony and a first-round draft pick or something? You gonna really do better in New York? Probably have more fun. It's New York City compared to Cleveland. You gonna go to the West Coast? You're the Western Conference? Heard the Spurs as a franchise have kind of emerged as hopeful to land Kyrie Irving if Cleveland does in fact trade him. He's under contract for a couple more seasons, so there's no obligation by the Cleveland Cavaliers to trade him. But, okay, you go to San Antonio. Maybe it's a 3-team trade. I don't know. Now you're in the Western Conference. Now you're competing with the Warriors, the Rockets, the Thunder, the Clippers, I guess. Timberwolves are going to be improved. A lot of talent. There's a lot of talent on that Western Conference. A lot more than, we'll just maybe Boston will give us a fight in the Eastern Conference. Oh, they're the number 1 seed. Whatever. We'll still go 14 and 1 or whatever they did in the playoffs, getting to the NBA Finals. They absolutely ran the table. It didn't matter if they were the 1 or the 2 seed. Cleveland ran the table. There's no competition in the East for Cleveland, at least as it stands right now. I don't know. Kyrie Irving thinks the earth is flat, so maybe this was just another lapse in judgment. I don't know what to tell you. I'll tell you this, though. This is further proof, and I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I'm gonna eat some words here. This is further proof, to me at least, that LeBron James is off to Los Angeles. LeBron James is going to be an LA Laker. It shocks me to say it. A couple episodes ago, we were talking about this, and I said, no way is LeBron leaving. Might not be so true now. It looks like he might be out of there. And I wouldn't necessarily blame him. I'm hoping to get our boy John Browner back in here. He's the NBA guru around these joints, and talk to him. Does that hurt LeBron's legacy if he leaves and goes to LA? You fall in 2 categories. You either love him or you hate him. If you hate him, it doesn't matter. His legacy does not matter because he won't ever amount to anything, right? And if you love him, then you're going to say, well, look, he went back to Cleveland. He sought out winning a title. He did that. He brought a championship back to Cleveland. He's good now. He's good in Cleveland, man. They would understand if he were to leave. I don't know. It's all starting to line up. All right, I want to wrap it up. O.J. Simpson was back in the news, and I said this is where we would end. I talked about it just a little bit at the beginning of the podcast. He was back in the news last week. It was pretty crazy, just honestly watching this parole hearing. It was on every major network. It was almost like it was 1994 again. Every major network stopped their programming. ABC they interrupted Days of Our Lives to show you this parole hearing in which O.J. Simpson was granted parole in Las Vegas. He was serving time. He had been there for almost 9 years in the clink for armed robbery and stealing, memorabilia that he said belonged to him and a hotel room in Vegas back in the 2000s. Blah, 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 blah. That's not really the point. You probably have heard about that. You probably know why O.J. Simpson was in prison, but he's out. Not yet, but he'll be out in a couple months. The juice is loose come October. And, I don't know, it's weird. I get it. Like, technically, I understand why he was paroled. I mean, the guy's 70 years old. He's probably not a threat to society in the eyes of the people that were on this parole board hearing. He technically hadn't done any other crimes. Remember, he was acquitted of a double murder in the mid-90s. He technically, in the eyes of the law, he did not commit murder. Doesn't matter that all the evidence was against him and everyone thinks he did it. Technically, it's not on his record. Technically, he didn't do it. So the parole hearing, they weren't able to hold any of that in the back of their minds, which power to them. Like how anybody could sit in a room with O.J. Simpson and be told you're not allowed to take into consideration anything that happened in his past. I couldn't do that. If I'm sitting in the room with O.J. Simpson, I'm thinking, you murdered 2 people. You're a murderer. And they weren't allowed to hold any of that against him. So when you take all that into consideration and the fact that he was a quote-unquote good prisoner and he went to all the classes he was supposed to, I get it. I get why he was out on parole. But anyways, just seeing him in the news last week kind of got me, I had some time over the weekend. It got me to want to go back and watch a little bit of the documentary, the ESPN Made in America documentary, which if you have not seen it, stop what you're doing. Listen to the end of this podcast because I appreciate it. And as soon as you're done, go find this documentary. It's a 5-parter. It's like 9-ish hours, 9 or 10 hours. And it's broken up into 5 parts. It's a long documentary. I'm not telling you it's not. I didn't watch the whole thing. I started in like the 2nd or 3rd episode when, we kind of get to the murder and the trial, him on the Bronco chase and all that. Skipped all the stuff about his past because I'd seen the documentary before, but I was just kind of curious, wanted to go back and refresh it and think, God damn, that stuff, that was wild. I mean, I was not very old when this was happening. I knew something was going on. I didn't know who it was. I didn't know if it was a big deal. Turns out it was obviously a very big deal. It's probably the most famous trial in American history when it's all said and done, certainly in sports. So I started watching that, and I'm watching the trial, and it got me thinking, is there anybody else that we can even compare to O.J. Simpson as far as just top of the world, had it all, and just lost it, lost everything? I don't know. I don't know if there was, and I'm not sure that there is. I mean, Lance Armstrong, okay, he beat cancer. He won, I think it was 7 Tour de France races in a row, 7 consecutive. Everybody loved Lance Armstrong. Live strong. If you didn't have one of those yellow bracelets, you at least knew somebody that did. He was the face of a movement for cancer treatment and awareness and all of that. But he was taking steroids, and turns out he just, that the image that we thought we had of Lance Armstrong wasn't quite the one that he really is. I mean, another name that came up to me was Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's one of the greatest boxers of all time. But we only think of him as somebody that bit off Evander Holyfield's ear. He had countless allegations of domestic abuse and sexual abuse against him. He went bankrupt. He filed for he was $30 million in the hole or something. This is a guy that made over $300 million in his career. And he ends up filing for bankruptcy, I think in the early 2000s. And I believe the number that I saw was he was cited for saying, I'm $30 million in debt. So I guess that kind of falls into the category. I mean, we're talking top of their career, top of the world, had everything. And just in the blink of an eye, gone. I think Mike Tyson's probably a fair comparison. The one that I think is the most comparable, though, it's the only one I could think of. It has to be Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods was the greatest of all time. That's what he was. That was his name. I mean, everybody was saying this guy is going to be the best ever. He's going to beat Jack Nicklaus's majors record. He's going to be the best. Golf had never seen anyone like Tiger Woods. He made golf cool. He did not look like the stereotypical golfer. This guy was a machine. Okay, everybody wanted to be Tiger Woods. He made golf cool. That just hadn't really been done before. Everybody loved Tiger Woods. And in 2009, I believe it was 2009, November, right around Thanksgiving, I'll never forget it when the news started to come out. Tiger Woods, not a great guy. Not a very good guy. He had been leading quite a life, a double life, a life that nobody knew about, a life full of, waitresses and I believe paid working girls, and just his family life completely crumbled. His ex-wife, Elin, beat the shit out of him with the 9-iron. I mean, he crashed into a tree. I mean, his career, not only did his life, his family life, the stuff that's more important than sports, all of that just completely crumble before our eyes. But you want to talk about Tiger Woods, the golfer, he's never been the same, and he never is going to be the same, and he is done. He hasn't officially retired, but I mean, it's got to be coming any day now. He hasn't won a tournament. He can barely finish a tournament. He can barely make the cut on even these small tournaments that you didn't even know existed. Tiger Woods is not the same. Had everything, lost it all. And at the end of the day, Tiger Woods didn't murder anyone, so I don't even know if it is comparable to O.J. Simpson. But it got me thinking. Good friend of mine, I remember we were talking about, I think it was last year when the OJ documentary came out. He goes, wasn't he like pretty good in college? He wasn't that good in the NFL. No, dude. Like I can't even think of a player right now that this would be comparable to. I mean, this OJ Simpson is one of the greatest running backs of all time. He's one of the best USC Trojans of all time. He's an NFL Hall of Famer. It'd be like Tom Brady cutting off Giselle's head or something. You know what I mean? Because even after his NFL career, OJ then went on to be a broadcaster and a movie star and all this. I mean, everybody loved OJ Simpson. It'd be like, I don't know, LeBron James or Tom Brady. Those are the only athletes like the level that I can even compare to OJ Simpson back in his heyday. So, I don't know. That just got me thinking. I mean, athletes that had it all, And there's others you can put up there. I mean, Pete Rose, Alex Rodriguez, could probably throw them into the conversation. I don't know. Maybe if you're welcome to the conversation. If you can think of anyone that kind of just, they had it all. We thought we knew them. We barely knew them. And things started to just unravel quickly. Everything went into a tailspin for them. But I don't know. That was just my thoughts. So that's going to wrap it up for episode 48 of the Reindl Report. You can follow me on Twitter and send those comments. Send those, if you got any thoughts on that whole OJ, Tiger Woods comparison, anything that we've talked about here on this episode, you can always follow me on Twitter at Paul Reindl SD. I will spell it out because for as long as I've been conscious to the fact, nobody knows how to say my name or pronounce it or spell it. It's PaulReindlSD on Twitter. And you can go to thereindlreport.com. You can get this podcast along with every other podcast and interview that I've done here for the Reindl Report. And you can also go on iTunes. And if you liked anything, if you didn't like anything, I would love for you to just take a couple seconds out of your day and send some feedback. Go to iTunes. You can go on your iPhone, if you have an iPhone, I suppose, and you go right to the podcast app, hit search, type in the Reindl Report, hit subscribe. Now, what that does is every time that I post a podcast, within like 45 minutes, you will get a notification on your phone. It'll download it automatically. It'll say new episode available, and you can listen to it. You can consume that content. But I would always appreciate the comments and the feedback. I'm always looking to improve the podcast. I'm here to talk about whatever you want to hear about. So send me your thoughts. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. I'd really appreciate it. That's going to do it for me. I've got some guests on the horizon for the next couple of episodes of the Reindl Report. Won't spoil who they are. They've been on before, and hoping to bring them back. We've got NFL training camp getting underway here. Baseball postseason push is starting to roll around. College football is coming back. Lots going on here in sports. Lots to get to on future episodes of the Reindl Report. But that's going to do it for episode 48. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next time.